More natural.
You know, there's been so much talking shit today already and nothing's happened yet.
And it's lunchtime.
It's almost lunchtime.
Well, the problem I think is that we don't get a chance to
Socialize.
Talk nonsense.
Yeah, it's part of what we do, isn't it?
I suppose so. But you know, the problem is actually, that's not the problem.
What's the problem?
The problem is going to make some people very unhappy today.
Why?
Because I think this truck's going to be beautifully yellow.
But then they don't know you.
But they don't. But this guy is going to make rust today. Him. Yeah, so we're going to,
No.
not we, him.
I'm going to try.
He's going to try and make it look like it's rusted. Let's see how that turns out. Yesterday, me and you fitted the engine cowling. What do you call this thing? Engine cowling, hood.
The hood.
Yeah. So
What
that's
is in
back
the
on
hood?
place. We had to panel beat it a little bit to get it to kind of fit.
Yeah.
That's
It was a bit of work, eh?
It was a bit of a struggle.
Surprisingly, we never
yeah, it was a
expected
bit of a struggle, but it's in place, so that's happening.
Yeah.
So now we can stuff it up even more. He's going to stuff it up even more.
Our paint job that took us months.
Yeah. So Stefan, what the hell is going on? Why are you spraying it with water, my brother?
You know what they say about water? Water is life. Yeah? I mean,
I don't know. Hey? I hope this gets to something. No, Stefan, seriously now, why do you use the water? What's the story with the water? What does it do?
I think what the water does is, you'll see now when I dab it a bit, it creates that sort of old, rustic, weathered look. I think is the best way to.
So what do you reckon is the mechanics about this? So the paint only sticks to certain spots?
Yeah, well,
now?
remember it's a oil-based or a solvent-based paint.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like they say, water and oil don't mix.
Yes.
So, and it also creates a bit of texture, I think.
Yes.
And then the other thing is, you must also remember where rust happens on a vehicle almost naturally. So normally it's on the curvy edges and whatever, because the sun hits it there, and you also have, in the 1,000 years this thing is old, it's been washed how many times?
Yes.
So normally the paint wears through here and on edges like that, and then at the pop rivets they tend to rust, and around the edges, especially at the bottom, because water normally flows down and it lies there, and while it's drying, obviously.
Yes, good point. And also with the sun obviously
And
shines
in the
more
sun, yes.
on horizontal surfaces.
Yeah.
So that will weather much more than a vertical surface.
Yeah. And obviously I'm just doing, what I'm also doing is, rust consists sort of out of shades of brown and orange, if you want to call it that. So I'll start with the lightest color first.
Okay, that's why you've got the light orange at the moment.
And a lot of air and not a lot of paint, because you want almost that transparent look.
Yes, and then you're going to come with the darker colors after.
yes.
All right. So yeah, with a bit of a close-up, you can see what the water has done. It's kind of starting to create this mottled effect, I suppose. Stefan is causing cack on my truck. What are you doing?
Trying to, tune his Patina.
No, so he's got you roped into service his Cortina or fine-tune it or what?
No, we're doubling our efforts today.
All right.
Team effort, eh?
So you're fixing his truck, or not fixing it, but just giving it a bit of a tune-up.
Yeah, he was complaining. It hesitates a bit when he wants to go fast.
Well, that's like me. Yes, so obviously this here is a very natural wear point.
Yes.
You'll definitely have rust along this because of years of touching in this particular point.
That's correct.
But you wouldn't specifically have rust here, right?
No.
Yeah.
And obviously by the old mirror was here, so maybe because of that there's a bit of rust there.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm gonna just do that sort of the background of the rust there.
Okay, so this is just the first step though, eh?
Yes, yes.
Oh.
And then obviously from the sun again, you'll have a bit of rust here.
Yes.
But not that much because obviously it's the angle to the
It
sun.
will be mostly on that
Yes, right at the top.
sort of horizontal surface part of it, not so much here.
Yes. Rust here at the bottom of the bonnet.
Right here.
Yeah. On the edge, like I did there. Just the coloring is sort of rust starting at the bottom.
Like that.
Because you know that's where the water is sort of...
Is it natural? What I really would like to see is
Is it
the way it would happen naturally.
You think
so
it's
that is what we need to figure, because I see too many fake patina
water
paint
runs
jobs.
down, it normally lies, it hangs there if it's not dried. So obviously your rust everywhere starts at the bottom actually. Except that's more weathered rust, and this is water accumulation rust, if I can call it that.
That makes sense to me, but then I would say not the whole edge.
No, just part of it.
Just a little bit.
There it runs down, so it won't be as rusted there as here.
It won't be as rusted here because it runs down easier. Here it tends to collect more.
Yes.
So maybe then in this spot, that makes sense.
Yeah, and also very
But
lightly.
not so much there.
And also just lightly, because it's not rusted through. That's the idea we have
It's
here.
just starting.
Coloring the paint from the inside.
Just starting, yes.
I think.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense.
And then, so what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to lift this up a bit.
So just touching the edge here a little bit.
Just like that. I think.
Okay, I think it's important for us to realize, Stefan, that this is a first stage. There's going to be more colors.
It's just
Lots more
one
colors
colour
are coming into the picture, right?
It's just one color at the moment.
Yes. This is a first stage, first step. Okay, Stefan, so now we've got, we mixed up what, orange, we added a little bit of 4-tractor blue and a touch of black to get sort of a next shade
So now,
of brown.
It's the same thing again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this piece. So maybe just to recap what we said before, because of sun and normal wear and tear, by washing it or wiping it down or whatever, this area normally loses paint first. It sort of weathers first. So we're going to try. We're going to try and create that effect. If we can just take the
No, the freaking bottle doesn't want to work. So spraying with water. And now it's all experimental. Let's see now what happens with our new mixed. Right, I think we're slowly starting to get somewhere. Obviously we're going to add some more dark here and there. A few extra tricks. We'll see how it goes. But we're starting to move in the right direction, I think. What do you think, Stefan?
Yeah, I think we're getting there now. I suppose with us being too orange in the beginning, what does that make us? Trump followers.
Hey, no politics on this channel, thank you. Go read the sign on my wall. Some people don't like it, but my sign on the wall says it all. Okay, so now what we're doing now with our ongoing experimentations is in certain spots where the rust is not actually happening more intensely, we've actually just sprayed the same color more thickly. This was more of a misting. Now we're applying it. Look at the state of my hands. Now we're applying it, yeah, more intensely, I guess is the right way to say it.
Okay, Deb, so the idea now is we've done we've redone the lighter part of the discoloration, I
Yes.
suppose. So now we've got to obviously have some rust spots or where the paint has gone through to the metal.
Yes.
And so the next step is to go slightly darker in those spots.
Yes. Like I can already see.
Yeah, like I've started here.
Yes. So what did you do? Just spray more thickly
so
or more intensely?
Very little paint, but I stay there longer because I still want it to fade in.
Yes.
I don't want definite lines or anything.
So just hang on a minute. I can't hear you when you're busy spraying. So using the same color that we used here,
Yes,
but you're just spraying more of it
yes.
in a concentrated spot, if I can put it like that. So a more intense application, but it still fades away because you're spraying it.
Because at the end of the day, I think what's nice about this is that rust happens in stages.
Yes.
So first you have the metal. You must also remember in the old days. Sorry, I'm interrupting myself. But in the old days, the paint was not of the same standard as today's 2Ks.
Yes.
So the paint discolored with the rust underneath far quicker than today. Today you actually see bubbles, so it's rusted already before you actually see the rust.
Yes.
But in those days, the paint tend to discolor
Yes.
because of the oxidization of the metal underneath. So it happened in stages. First very lightly, like obviously we have here, and then in the spots where the paint is thinner or there's more exposure to the elements or whatever, it tends to go darker,
Yes.
more metal.
It's actually essentially where the paint is worn right through to base metal.
Yes, so what's nice about the way we're doing it now is that we keep on using the same base color.
Yeah.
So we have
Shades of it.
of the
Yes.
same base color, so it should flow easily and it should look more natural than taking different tins of color.
Well, actually, what I'm going to do, Stefan, is I'll show the guys how we've mixed it as well. Start keeping with the same starting orange, if I can put it like that.
Yeah.
And just adding more blue and more black. A base color that we're starting with is this orange here, but it's a little too orange. It needs a sort of a brown undertone. So I'm going to just take a little bit of this Ford Tractor Blue, and we mix that in, and you will see it's starting to get like a more of a brown undertone, more of a, so we call it a burnt orange. So the amount of blue that you add will determine that shade. So I think this might be a little too dark for a start, although it's becoming the color of rust. Let's just add a little bit more orange here, just to see the change. And mix that in. Yes, you can see now it's becoming a lighter shade. I think that's pretty much the color we would like to start with. This color right there. So just so that you can see, if you add too much blue, it's going to come a point where it actually gets this, look at that, it kind of goes like a brown with a green undertone. That's a horrible color. So too much blue, not a good thing, eh? So the only way to get this color, horrible color, back to something with a brown undertone would be to add more orange or some red. This has got red. Let's add a bit more orange there for the sake of the experiment. And there you can see we're going back towards something that's more brown. And then there comes a point where it starts getting this green undertone, and we definitely don't want that. The difference between these three colors you see here then is simply due to the amount of blue I've added to the orange. And you can see, like I said before, if you add too much blue, you start tending towards a brown with a kind of a green undertone. We definitely don't want that. If I would like to make any of this color darker, I can just add a tiny bit of black. And you can see what's happening there. It's going darker as I work in the black. I want to go darker than that. I can even add more black. Let's put in a spot more. That's a lot. You see now it's going very dark. You can see, I think you will agree with me, that might be too much black. So you got to be careful with the black, because it's very strong. So using orange as our base color, by adding a little bit of blue, we can get a slightly more brown color, and by adding a little bit of black, we can take a darker. So we've mixed all these different colors with a combination of those colors, and the orange is then our base color for everything that we're going to paint.
So obviously we're just carrying on with the dark spots, and this is just by feel. I mean, nobody knows how it's going to happen in real life. You just see something that's already rusted. You don't know why there's a rust spot, but on this one, probably there on the corner.
I think what's also important, I mean, in nature, nothing happens in a symmetrical way.
No.
So if you try and do this in a very symmetrical way, it's not going to look like.
No.
So you need to try and do it in a haphazard way,
And you also
if nothing
gotta-
else. So you know, for instance, that spot and that spot and that spot, it's not equally spaced, as a simple
They're
example.
not the same size,
Not the same size.
even the same shape.
Yes, that's an important thing to keep in mind.
And then the other thing to remember, I know a lot of guys that tries to fake rust or patina,
Yeah.
is they'll put a rust spot there.
Yeah,
The chances in real life of a flat panel like that,
it doesn't work.
having a rust spot there is almost impossible.
Yes.
It just doesn't happen that way.
No, it needs.
It'll rust either from the top because water was lying on the top there or inside the pop rivets, or it'll rust at the bottom because the water runs down and it hangs there.
Correct.
Especially near the coast with the saltiness in the water or the salt on the vehicle.
Yes.
It washes down and it hangs there and it rusts from the bottom.
Yes. So right here,
But there, just
right here, that would be a natural wear spot from the mechanic hanging over
Yes,
this thing for
working on it.
40 years, putting in water or oil or whatever.
Yes.
So it's worn off in this
also
area.
remember, it's not just that. People tend to use vehicles to stand against.
Yeah.
You know? And they were standing like this. And
Yeah.
so yes, here you will have more wear and tear.
Yes.
So like on the hood emblem, or the mascot, or whatever you want to call it, depending on where in the world you stay, you have the problem of, or the real life situation where water gets trapped underneath there.
Yes.
Because these things didn't have a rubber or anything, they were just stuck into two holes with bolts at the bottom or whatever.
Yes.
So it tends to rust on the side. So we are just going to touch it there, slightly darker, to get the same effect. So you have the same thing where you've got a hinge in the middle. This bonnet obviously opens like that.
Yes.
So again, the water gets trapped inside there. So what we want is just to discolor it slightly. You'll come with a bit more. So now we have a slight discoloring there. So what we'll do in the next stage is we're going to start with a darker color and actually create the rust spots.
Yes.
And most of that we're going to do with a combination of the spray gun and the paintbrush. And
I'd just like to add something. So this spot that's starting to develop here on the top of the wood, that would not be a wear spot, right? That would be from the sun.
the sun.
But there's two factors that we need to keep in mind. Wear spots over time, where people rub against the vehicle, or there's use on a door or whatever, and then the effect of the UV of the sun shining down on the vehicle.
Yes.
And that is what's happening here. So we're not finished here yet, but this is the start of it. Right, and to create the actual rust itself, what are you doing?
Well, now instead of a spray gun, I'm actually using a brush.
Start dabbing it with a foam, piece of foam.
Anything that's got texture. You can use that side.
Yeah, it's basically experimentation until you think it looks good. And if it doesn't work out, you can always
And obviously,
paint yellow over it and try again.
try again. Yeah.
Stefan did the other side today, and I've got an admission to make. When he started, I thought, but you can always just paint it yellow if it doesn't work out. But I think it turned out freaking awesome. What do you think, bro?
Yeah, no, it came out,
Hey?
awesome.
Are you happy,
Yeah.
Mr. McCready?
I am, sir.
And are the artists happy with his handiwork?
Well, if they're happy, I'm happy.
So yeah, I might show you around just now, a little bit closer and all that. I think it turned out great. I don't know what you guys think. You can let us know. We can take the punishment. Huh?
Rust in the bush.
So yeah, we've got our fake patina done.
Hey, listen, it gives it awesome character.
I think it looks a lot better than just plain
And it
yellow.
breaks your yellow.
Yeah, even sickle yellow, eh?
Yeah, it looked a bit like what was it, a railway truck or something.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm very happy.
And I mean, it's an old truck. Why you want new paint on it?
Exactly. No, I'm very happy.
Yeah. No,
Thanks, my man.
I'm also.
Appreciate it.
Well done, Stefan.
Well done, Stefan.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you in the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Whatever makes you happy, it just depends on